So when Ritchard completed the chapel in 1878, the sisters and the students, the girls who went to school here, could not use the balcony for the choir as it was intended, since Ritchard was not able to put in the circular staircase that he had in mind right from the beginning. And then a year later, he died of natural causes. When he died, the sisters asked the local carpenters to build one, but they failed. They did not know how to do it. And when the local carpenters failed, the sisters turned to prayer. And they said a 9-day novena, asking St. Joseph to pray to Jesus to help them with their problem, patron of carpenters, and to whom they had dedicated the building of the chapel. And on the last day of the novena, this strange man rode in off the desert and offered to build this staircase. So they hired him right on the spot, which was common for the day. They didn't get resumes in those days. And the mysterious carpenter worked inside the chapel for 3 months, never allowing anyone to see him work on it. And then, after 3 months, he just vanished without being paid. When he vanished, the sisters went to the only lumberyard in town to at least pay for the materials. The lumberyard told the sisters that the man never got any materials from them at all. And so the only description they had of the man, that he was an elderly man with a gray beard. Now, not so much today, but when I was a boy and in the 1800s, St. Joseph was often depicted as an elderly man out of deference to the Catholic belief of the perpetual virginity of Mary. So when the man vanished, and the lumberyard didn't know where the wood came from, the sisters were convinced that Jesus sent St. Joseph from heaven to build the staircase for them. That story they've told their students ever since. Now, Loretto Chapel is a private secular museum owned by a businessman since 1971. So we, of course, tell the legend of what the sisters told to all the students, but we stress 3 mysteries. The first mystery is historically, where does the wood come from? I wanted to find out. So, as curator of the museum at the time, I gave a core sample of the wood to a U.S. naval scientist, and his name was Forrest Easley. He studied the wood for 15 months, determined the wood to be a form of Pisceus spruce, or softwood. He said it did not match up with any other Pisceus on Earth. So, as a discoverer of a new type of Pisceus spruce, he had the right to name it, and he named it Joseph after the legend of St. Joseph, Easley after himself, and Pisces, the subspecies that fell into Joseph Easley Piscea. So as of this last scientific study is still a mystery to this day. Where does the wood come from? Nobody knows.
Wow.
The second mystery is, why does it stand? I've worked here since 1990, and we've had engineers from all over the world, but not a single engineer on the planet from anywhere in the country has been able to, in the world has been able to tell us the weight-bearing capacity of our staircase without tearing it apart, or comparing it with a wood that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. So therefore they cannot determine how much weight it would hold. And then 2 years ago, in early 2019, I gave a lecture to 120 modern circular staircase builders from all over the United States, each owning their own company. They came here for a congress to meet with each other to see the Miraculous staircase, and for a lecture. And during the lecture I asked them, well, how do you build circular staircases? They told me they take hardwood and glue it together. The process is called lamination. But our staircase was built before the Industrial Revolution came to Santa Fe in 1879, and it was put together with wooden pegs, and it's flexible. But these modern circular staircases are glued and rigid. Now, at the end of my lecture, I asked them, and not one of these 120 American companies said that they could reproduce our staircase the way it was built. So they had no idea, staircase builders, how to do this either. And then, thirdly, I'd like to mention a world-renowned physicist by the name of David Comerat. He's too humble to call himself that, but I refer to him as that because he gives lectures to physicists all over the world, in China, and Europe, North America, and South Africa. He came to visit us, and he was so enthralled, I allowed him to examine and measure the staircase. And he got together with a physicist from South Africa. And they wrote a scientific paper and sent me a link to it. Now, 95% of the paper was physics and calculus, 2 subjects I've never taken. So they were kind enough to explain it to me in layman's terms. And they told me that They were convinced that the staircase was patterned after the natural design of a DNA strand. End of quote. A DNA strand is flexible, but the connectors are rigid. Our staircase, the stringers are flexible, but the steps are rigid. So they were convinced our staircase in and of itself had the strength and integrity of a DNA molecule. Using calculus, they extrapolated from a DNA molecule and calculated that our staircase, despite being 140 years old, would hold a 220-pound person on every single step. Of course, that's something we would never test. And because our goal is the long-term preservation of the staircase. But Dr. Tomareff, in his email to me with a link to his paper, said this, quote, being able to describe the physical origin or the rigidity of the staircase does not make it less miraculous, period. It makes it more miraculous in my mind, since the builder would have to be more ingenious than all civil engineers so far. So no engineer on the planet can figure it out, no staircase builder on the planet can figure it out, and a world-renowned physicist, his mind is blown about it as well. So that's our second mystery. Why does it stand? Nobody knows. The third mystery I'd like to talk about is who built it? Hi, welcome. How many of you party today? 4. 2 children.